here. It's been a wonderful festival. We're so excited for the shows that are about to come through. You're going to see 3 wonderful ones tonight. Show runs about an hour long. If you're new to the tank, welcome. We are at home for emerging artists. What that means is that we provide free space for artists to do their work here. We are one of the last, last theaters to be able to provide that in New York. So we're very proud of that endeavor. However, it is a challenging one. So we're always looking for support at the tank. Sometimes that support looks like donating your time. If you're interested in volunteering, we have several opportunities to do so. Sometimes that support looks like donating your money if you're feeling generous. And if you do not have time or money, you are probably an artist as well. But that is also great news because we are always accepting submissions on a rolling basis. So if you're interested in submitting your work to us, please look us up online at thetanknyc.org for more information. So please silence your cell phones, any other noise makers you may have, and enjoy the shows.
Hi, dear.
I hate that song. Dear.
Mr. Ramirez.
Oscar. Mr. Ramirez was my father.
Okay, Mr. Oscar. Ramirez is my last name too.
What's the common name? Oscar. Just Oscar.
Okay. Here you go. And just Jack.
I don't get it.
But you don't watch Will and Grace?
I freaking hate that show.
Right. Okay, by the way, Oscar, this is a no-hate zone.
No plate.
Okay, I heard that. I'm standing right here, you know? I remember when snowflake was a beautiful thing to call someone. And let me guess, you're one of those chumpy never maskers, huh?
Look, I ain't from around here. This ain't my hospital. I live in Staten Island. What's her name?
Vincent.
Vinny?
No, it's just Vincent. Vinny was my father.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Right then. Look, Vincent. No offense. Any chance maybe I can get a lady noise?
Denise! Dear, this gentleman, Oscar, would prefer a lady nurse. Thank you.
Mira, tampoco quería una.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there, Oscar. In the 4 minutes that we've gotten to know each other, you told me exactly who you are, and I'm gonna believe you.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm speaking. Mira, te lo voy a decir muy claramente. Aquí no se tolera racismo, homofobia, misoginia. Hate is not tolerated. You got that?
Can I say something?
No, not yet. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you very clearly. You are here and not in Staten Island because there are no beds, no respirators, no staff on that island. We are barely making it through now, just me and Shanice in this makeshift ward. And look, the way the world is going on right now, you might get worse. And considering your stats, there's a good reason that you will be. But we are going to be here for you, okay? Me and Shanice. We will be here to hold your hand. We will make sure if things go south that you will have contact, virtual contact with your family, and we will not leave you alone, no matter what we feel about you. Okay? It is a free country after all, but keep it cute.
I'm scared. I don't want to die.
I'm scared. I don't want to die.
I know, Miko. Be positive.
I remember when that used to be a good thing.
Ay, Dios mío. Qué estúpido. Good foot and mouth.
Yeah, big feet, huh?
Atrevido. You're frisky.
Freaky?
I
You don't know
said-
me like that.
I said frisky.
No, you probably think I'm a stupid sled. That's
Whoa,
why I'm
whoa,
here. Why I'm
whoa.
sick?
Whoa. ¿Eso que te dije? Yo te dije eso. Is that what I said?
No. But I just.
Montito. No buts. Unless they bubble. You heard? No, but let me tell you something.
Here she goes.
Para empezar, soy macho. Don't be calling me a sheep. And furthermore, there'll be no shaming on this floor. You heard? We got enough of that out there. And in my experience, the ones that make it out of this unit are the ones that got no shame in their game. You heard?
¿Que eres santero?
Hell no. He soy brujo. I'm Mexican. I just been here so long that sounded good boricuas.
I'm Cuban. Hey, you don't look like you're
Si
Mexican.
lo digas, please. I get enough of that shit from the beach at gringos all the damn time. I've been here so long, I just sound like one of yous. No, but really, let me tell you something. You're not alone. I'm here. Whatever you need, within reason. Que tú quieras. When you sneak you in some of those dark chocolates, like the ones I know you like, que tú quieras. ¿Viste?
Yeah, you know, I like my dark chocolate, huh? Can I get a hug?
Of course. Of course, Nico. Come here. Touch is so important. It's essential. It's like oxygen. Breathe, breathe. Sí, respira profundamente. Respira.
I can't believe they won't let me see him.
Who? The lover.
No, my son. That bastard won't let me see him. He says I deserve to die here alone.
Who said that?
My father. He doesn't let me have any visitors except for family, and the only family I have is him and my son.
¿Y la mamá? I know. No me lo digas. Mi madre.
Yeah. She's sick. No, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's gonna happen to my son. No lo quiero dejar solo.
No te vas a estar solo, hijo, te lo prometo.
No va a estar solo. Te lo prometo.
I just want to see my wife. And Rocco, my pup.
Who's Rocco?
My pup.
Yeah, I get that. I haven't been able to hug my husband in 3 months. Mira, Oscar, you have to fight. The people that fight are the ones that get out of here alive. Okay?
It's karma. Do you believe in that?
Karma? Of course. Why do you say that?
Because. Porque esto es lo que merezco.
No, no one deserves this. Okay?
I do. I did something horrible.
Okay, now we confessing to any crimes, okay?
Well, it was like a crime.
Okay, then I don't want to hear it. But since you began, what happened?
This is the 25th anniversary of my son's death. He died alone. In a hospital downtown. Well, it's not there anymore.
St. Vincent's. St. Vincent's.
You know it.
Well, yeah. I know my history. And hello, my name, Vincent.
Y por coincidencia, that was his son. That was his name too. I'm not calling you Vinny. That was his name.
No, I hear you. I just. What?
What's the matter with you? Turning white, you look like you've seen a ghost. I can't breathe.
Shanice! Call out the priest! Okay, I'm just going to up your Tranquilo. I know this is scary. I'm going to be right here, don't worry.
Vinny?
Yeah, it's my name, don't worry, I'll Vinny.
Don't get testy with me, mister.
Hey, I'm having a hard time breathing.
I know. I think you might have an infection. That's why I'm giving you this.
Another one?
Yeah, these OIs, they keep popping up. It's like whack-a-mole.
Like a what?
It was whack.
Yo, crack is whack.
Yes, sir, you don't know me like that. I'm getting all your pinche videos.
No, entonces cuidado, cause you know I'm infectious. Hey, listen, it's our song. Next day, you gave it away. Hey, I know that I'm not supposed to ask about that thing that you're not supposed to do, that we're not supposed to talk about.
I don't want to get your hopes up.
What?
But I talked to Ava, Ava's mother, and little Vinny. She's with her now.
No, you're shitting me.
No. And Ava's doing a lot better. She's responding to the meds.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is like the best thing ever. No, it's like Miracle on 34th Street or something.
It's a wonderful life. Well, the best thing ever would be you be taking a few steps forward. These meds, they're like wonder drugs.
Yeah, that fucker Fauci finally got to fast tracking these trials, huh?
Well, blame Reagan and the Republicans.
Clinton's not that much better.
Really?
Oh, he's okay. I have greater expectations.
You know what expectations are?
What?
Premeditated resentments.
Yeah, the story of my life. Oh shit, what?
Look, don't be a drama queen.
No, but what's going on? I'm feeling dizzy.
You're just wrong. I just gave you this shot. You'll be fine.
No, but I need to see my son. I need to see my son. What time is it?
You've been out for a few days. You needed the rest.
A few days?
You needed the rest.
I'm on my way out.
Ni lo digas. Positive affirmations. Remember we made a deal?
Yeah. Easier said than done. Hey, speaking of eels, did you get a chance to teach? Did you get a chance to talk to the social worker and see if what? Well, I'm cured.
The visitors.
My son?
Who's your father?
No, he don't want to see. Not my dad.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna look at little Vinny.
Oh, his name is Vincent. Vincent.
Son.
Where's Vincent?
He's out there with the doctor fellow. I just wanted a little time up here along with you, just for a moment.
Yeah, that doctor fellow is a nurse, pa. His name's Antonio. That's funny. You know how many minutes, hours, weeks I've been here alone? And now you come see me?
Sorry, I tried here.
Trying. I mean, look at you. You still have your mask on. I told you I'm not infectious. I tried educating you, but you don't believe me. You only listen to what they say. They infected you. Can I please just see my son? Pa, please.
Sorry,
I'm on my way out, but I just need to see Vincent one last time. Bob, what the fuck? Where are you going? Bob!
I'm so sorry. So sorry. I'm dizzy. What's going on?
No, that's just the sedatives. Tranqui.
Vincent? I need to see him.
Who?
My son. Please. Please, I need to see him. Como lo siento. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
Don't worry. Let the sedatives take effect. I remember that day in the hospital. The day you wouldn't let me see my dad. You said that me and my mom weren't family. And that's what you told the hospital. Now look at us. You and I. Ain't that a thing?
Buenas noches y good evening. I thought I was the only one out here tonight, but I suppose no one is ever truly alone in the woods. You never know what's lurking right around the corner, after all. There's safety in numbers, lest you forget, so we should keep each other company, right? Besides, this is too perfect of a night to spend it all on my own. I just love this kind of weather, don't you? The leaves crunch underfoot, the wind bites at your skin, and no outfit is complete without a jacket or sweater. It's the kind of weather that proves that fall is in full swing and Halloween is right around the corner. The kind of night that's perfect for ghosts and their stories. Do you think we'll be visited by any tonight? Did you hear that? No, I'm just fucking with you. There aren't any ghosts here in these woods. Not that I know of, at least. Not like I'd go out of my way looking for them. That's some white people shit. It's my personal philosophy that as long as you don't mess with the supernatural won't mess with you. But my abuelo made sure that I knew about all the important leyendas of the motherland, como el Charro Negro, Nahuales, and of course, the weeping woman herself, La Llorona. You know, my abuelo used to swear up and down to anyone who would listen that he saw the Llorona as a kid. The story goes a little something like this. My abuelo was brought to the United States when he was 5 years old, but he split his childhood between El Paso and Juarez, his place of birth. During one such visit to Juarez, the neighborhood boys dared him to go down to the river at the witching hour. And, because his pride was on the line, he did. He traveled out to the Rio Grande by his lonesome in the dead of night and waited for the weeping woman. It wasn't long until he heard a voice calling out, "Ay, mis hijos, ¿dónde estás?" He was paralyzed as a woman in white appeared in the corner of his eye, floating towards him. He was rooted to the spot as she drew ever nearer with her hand outstretched, ready to drag him into the river. At the last possible second before Llorona could snatch him, my abuelo grabbed his pocket altar adorned with the image of La Virgen, and he was imbued with the strength that he needed to run. He ran, and he didn't stop running until he safely made it back home. The following morning, the neighborhood boys hounded my abuelo until he managed to stutter and gasp out every last word of the frightening affair. The boys marveled at his story. After all, here was a boy who had encountered La Llorona and lived to tell the tale. There was one boy, however, who wasn't as impressed. The boy, named Ignacio, said that my abuelo was a liar, and as such, he himself would travel to the river that night and prove that La Llorona was simply a story meant to scare children. The other boys teased Ignacio for all his posturing, but he remained true to his word. The following morning, when Ignacio hadn't returned yet, the boys grew scared and alerted their parents. A search party was sent out, and they soon found the bloated body of Ignacio floating in the river. It said that when they fished his corpse out of the river, his face was frozen in an expression of pure fear. Anyways, that was the bedtime story my abuelo would always tell me every single time I visited. Can you believe that shit? Or, well, you probably could because, let's be honest here, nothing says Mexican child rearing quite like ingraining life lessons into your children through fear. That story scared the shit out of me as a child and still does a bit, if I'm being honest. But you can bet your ass that I never left the house at night, all thanks to my abuelo. I'm forgetting the sound of his voice. I mean, yes, technically there's some video that we have where he's speaking, but it's not the same, you know? Like any apt of translation, so many of the nuances are lost. Video doesn't quite capture the way that his voice could rumble like a thunderstorm or lull you to sleep like a gentle rain. But I think the greatest defense of all is just how little video there is to remember him by. You see, my abuelo was always camera shy, or at least the man that I knew as my abuelo was always camera shy. But what my abuela used to tell me, he had serious vanity issues as a kid until he was shipped off to Vietnam and came back with a glass eye, shrapnel scars littering his body, and a collection of a whole different kind of ghost story to haunt him for years to come. I heard a lot of stories about my abuelo at his funeral, but there was only one problem. They were all in Spanish. And I know what you're all thinking right now. Dios mío, here we go again. I'm another pinchino salvo kid whining about the fact that they're not Mexican enough or whatever. And I get it, okay? It's not like I want to feel like this. It just eats away at me sometimes. Hollows me right out like nothing else until I feel like a specter floating on the fringes of my own family. I am trying, though. That has to count for something, right? I tried my best at my abuelo's funeral. I sat as straight as possible and tried to focus as much as possible as person after person after person took to the podium to share their own fond recollections of my abuelo. They all spoke with such liveliness that it was hard to believe that the man of the hour was laying cold in the casket right next to them. There was this camaraderie, this community that had all been touched by this one man. I analyzed every facial expression and tried to make sense of all the individual words that I knew, but simply trying wasn't good enough in the end. And I mean, sure, I can stumble my way through a basic conversation easy enough. I can read more than I can speak, but don't even get me started on my listening comprehension. And just when I think I'm finally getting a grasp on the language and can actually hold my own in a conversation, I am brutally humbled by the natural rapid-fire speed of people who actually grew up speaking the language. So I simply resigned myself to letting the stories spoken in my family's native tongue just wash over me, and prayed that one of my relatives would take pity on me and translate, so same old story as always. Nothing new, really. And yet, what I would give for my Spanish to be as thoughtless as my English. Not that I blame my family, of course, and you shouldn't either, for the record. I can tell you another story about how Spanish was essentially banned when my abuelos were in school, how my abuela can still vividly remember how teachers used to take the rulers and rap on the knuckles of students who wouldn't or simply couldn't speak English. How, when it came time for my grandparents to raise my mom, they never passed down the language. They only taught her English, thinking that it would keep her safer, open the doors that were shut in their faces. When it came time for my mom to raise her own children, she didn't pass down the language. I mean, how could she? It wasn't like she was taught. She learned through community immersion, and it's not like her kids grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, so what was the point? What was the point of only teaching your kids English if it means that your grandchildren can only preserve a fragment of your memory? There's this statistic or fun fact or whatever claiming that it takes 3 generations for a person to be forgotten, erased from the personal record as if they had never existed in the first place, which makes sense, I suppose. I mean, the human brain can only reliably retain so much memory as time goes on, but what happens if you're never given access to these memories in the first place? I mean, nationalities change, language is lost, and what does one have to show for this absence, this severance of oral tradition, this vanishing of familial history? I mean, do we all just become ghost stories in the end? Sorry, I didn't mean to get all existential there. Right. Remember, my abuelo loved these. He always kept a box of them on his kitchen counter, no matter how tight money would get at times, or no matter how many times the doctors told him to cut back on sugar. He taught me the proper method of how to open these without letting them crumble to pieces in my hands, and he always found a way to sneak me some extra ones when my parents weren't looking. My family doesn't celebrate Dia de los Muertos. It's just not something we never really did. No real reason that I'm aware of, but I always admire the beauty of the holiday. I find it beautiful that we, as Mexicans, are so dedicated to preserving the memory of our loved ones. Not out of grief or sorrow, but out of appreciation for the time that we had with them. My family doesn't celebrate Dia de los Muertos. It's not November yet, and it's not like I have an ofrenda or photos or anything else to offer, really, but I'd like to try celebrating right now, if you'll let me. My abuelo's name was Felix Antonio Castillo. He was born in La Ciudad Juarez as the youngest of 6 boys. His parents brought him and his siblings to the United States when he was 5 years old. He had dreams of becoming a famous ranchera singer, but those dreams were indefinitely put on hold when he was drafted into the Vietnam War. His fellow soldiers described him as the heart of his unit, and when he was honorably discharged, he returned to his home and high school sweetheart and started a family. He had a voice that could crack the Franklin Mountains and shake the sky, and he had a presence to him just as big. He had a tongue that could be slicker than an oil spill and always had a tall tale ready for any interested ear. He was a complicated man, haunted by many things, but he always tried to do his best by his family. And I wish I could have known him better. I hope he's at peace, wherever he may be right now.
Wow. They say it takes one to know one. The words contained in this book are something I thought I would never encounter. I could not even imagine what it would have been like to be him. Salvador Novo. It's as though these words were written for me. I mean, I've never felt more seen. I guess all of us are him in one way or another. It's as though he left a trail for us to follow. He really paved the way for us. Para los maricones como él, como yo. And like the many I met when I moved to the DF, what Novo did was leave a big legacy, un legado. And I guess that's what I strive to do when I'm a teacher, of course. And as a flaming faggot, you know, I always think, what am I going to leave for my students, for the future generations? I want to know if I am truly doing anything for the people who are coming right after me. I know I am here for a purpose greater than what I can even imagine or grasp. And I want to work hard for that. I mean, I do want to live too. Ooh, do I want to live. I know, I'm not dead. Not dead yet. But I will eventually die. And I can't forget that. I mean, I'm surrounded by death. But this is about the prime days, when I am nice and young and handsome, always smelling good, todo un dandy, como my tia would say, and where I didn't have to worry about the dead haunting me. So much has happened in so little time. And that's why I feel in tune with Salvador. Salvador is, or rather was, but still is, someone who came to save me. Amar es este tímido silencio, cerca de ti sin que lo sepas. Y recordar tu voz cuando te marchas y sentir el calor de tu saludo. Amar es aguardarte como si fueras parte del ocaso, ni antes ni después, para que estemos solos entre los juegos y los cuentos sobre la tierra seca. Amar es percibir cuánto te ausentas, tu perfume en el aire que respiro, y contemplar la estrella en que te alejas cuando cierro la puerta de la noche. Just like Novo, I also moved to the city to fulfill big dreams. I wanted to become a teacher. And mira, there aren't many schools in Los Mochis where I could become a teacher. So I decided to take the leap and go to Mexico City. And the first thing I did when I arrived on July 30th to El Distrito Federal, this big old messy capital, was to try to find a place. Woo, it was difficult to find a place. Oh, let's paint the picture. You wanna go? But let us paint the picture. It is 1998 and Mexico is facing one of its worst economic crises. Yes, I said one of its worst. Due to, of course, the very incompetent government who we always had. I mean, these guys who are always in power for decades, who every 6 years they say they're going to fix what they haven't fixed, and then it keeps going anyways. Finding a place to live in the city was challenging because A, most of the affordable rooms on the market were suspicious because most buildings suffered irreparable damage after the 1985 earthquakes. B, inflation was so high for a student like me coming to a big city from a small town in Sinaloa. And C, Mexico was still killing people like me. So I had to make sure I was safe and that I could afford it. So what did I do? I went to the one place that I knew I could get some help. La biblioteca. So, La biblioteca, of course, was a place of education and knowledge where they were my safe havens, my sort of sanctuaries. And there's a reason why I want to be a teacher. So of course, the library would be the place to go. So right as I got off the train, I took my little maleta to the nearest library I could find and walked there. To my luck, it was closed. I had nowhere to go. So I just stayed outside like un perrito waiting for leftovers to drop from the table. I mean, waiting for something. And that is when Manuel showed up. Manuel was as delicate as a flower and as rough as pavement. He was a dancer. Born and raised in the city, he left his home at 16 after his stepfather kicked him out for being himself. He says that he saw me there, poor and abandoned, with eyes looking for any sign of comfort, which might have been true, but he says that I felt in my heart an explosion of charity and the impulse to come over and help you, ay, pobrecito. And after all, I know what it is like to be left alone. I'm here to save you in this big ciudad. What he doesn't say is that he was hungover and was walking home from a one-night stand and stopped into the library to see if he could vomit in the bathroom. I told him it was closed, and I asked him if he knew of any shelters I could go to. He looked at me with those knowing eyes, and he said, "Ay, bebé, a shelter's not going to help you. You need a place to stay. I have an open room at my place that you could have. Why don't you come and check it out and see if you like it? I have 2 other friends living with me, but we could have someone else for the rent. It's cheap. Besides, you fit right in. By the way, my name is Manuel. I looked at this guy who was around my age, clearly hungover with party clothes on, and who had an outstretched limp hand. And I thought, is he serious? I mean, he's a stranger. How could he be asking me this? And I cannot believe it, but I told him I'd go with him. Call me crazy, which I was, but remember, I had nowhere to go. I knew no one in the city, and there was this guy who looked my age and looked nice enough who said he had a room. I thought, maybe this is how it's done in La Ciudad. Every time I think about it, I think how stupid I was. I mean, Manuel could have been a killer, or a thief, or could have led me to my death. You know, for a wannabe teacher, I've done some pretty stupid stuff. But I guess everyone does when they're young. Pero, no. In the end, Manuel was my savior. He didn't turn out to be a thief or a killer. He took me to his place, and the spark had been ignited, and I've been living with him and Rafa and Sebastian, the other 2 roommates. And they have been my family here in the city ever since. My chosen family. My people. My life was divided into 3 parts. Home and family, where I felt increasingly strange, humiliated, and uncomfortable. School, and the walks and adventures that Ricardo dragged me on. Oh, he used to introduce me to the most unusual people, and take pleasure in having them almost possess me in their presence. One first time, he threw me into the warm arms of a young soldier, Octavio Larriba. And when I confided to him that I really liked Pichon Vallejo, a beautiful boy who played the piano hastily at the school's cultural assemblies, Ricardo maneuvered me to induce him to accompany him, to visit him in his furnished room in Bucareli. And he left us alone. It was the first time instinctively that my mouth gladly and suddenly, expertly carried out a caress that filled me with joy. Well, the ultimate goal was to become a teacher, right? And now I'm very close to becoming one. I need to finish my dissertation and start my career. I had actually been accepted into La Escuela Normal Superior because of a recommendation and some help from my Profesora Jimenez. She changed my life. I wasn't meant to be a teacher, or at least the life that I was born into wasn't supposed to allow me to be one. My future was to just grow up, marry a nice little wife, take care of the fields, los animales, and become un ranchero. But that's all that people expected from me. La Profesora Jimenez dared me to go beyond. She saw that I liked books and that I liked to listen to her talk about la política y la historia y la filosofía. And she knew I was meant for more. And it's like she knew me before I even knew myself. La Profesora Jimenez was the one who recommended me I come in here and study. I showed up to her house one day and I told her I needed to get out of Los Mochis desperately. She called a friend who she knew from when she was a student here and who actually teaches here at La Escuela and got me accepted right before the semester started. And she even bought me the train ticket to come here. But I was finally in El DF. Finally, my future could start. Well, first I had to go to school. And don't get me wrong, school is hard. I mean, los maestros don't give me any slack because I come from a small town in Sinaloa. But truly, I felt like this is where I was meant to be. Stressed and struggling, trust me, pero enjoying the wealth of knowledge and education. Now, it's not like I was here for free though. I had to get a job somehow. Luckily, Rafa got me a job at the coffee shop where he worked, the one where I met a cute boy and where I found out about La Estatua de Sal. But, you see, the way that we would get away, the way we would survive with money is, I would have the money from the coffee shop. Manuel was a dancer, pero when he didn't have a gig, he would be a receptionist for a medical clinic by my school. Rafa was everywhere, and Sebas, short for Sebastian, he was a mystery. He rarely spoke about his life. All four of us together was an interesting dynamic. Manuel was an artist and dared to live life to the fullest, always finding ways to make life more fun and amusing, always going to parties. Rafa was the entrepreneur. Everything he did was to see if he could get a little bit more money. Everything was an opportunity for him. He had a job at the bookstore, coffee shop, the lavanderia, and was always seeing if he could get some sort of internship with the local businesses. He was very pragmatic in every way, but he was a very good person. And he came to El DF right when he turned to 18 from Guadalajara. And Sebas, he grew up with a single mom and 3 younger siblings. And he noticed how much of a burden he was and saved up and came to the city. I mean, he still sent them money and would always send a letter back home. He's all love and joy. I love them all. But what I loved most about all of it was that they were gay. I came from not knowing what gay was in Los Mochis to living with some of the best people that I knew who all turned out to be just like me. Hey, no, we didn't always have the money for the rent on time. Of the 3 partners, Javier was the only one who had sufficiently monthly allowance. But La Virgen knew how to manage her wealthy friends. She brought a lover of hers to the studio, Don Tito Gaseo Rojo, a short, dark-skinned old man who owned pharmacies and a record store in Madero. He left us alone. But that month, La Virgen had enough to pay all the rent. The next month, it was my turn to receive a voluminous and belching visit from Licenciado Marmalejo. And that's how we've been surviving, together, with all our different pursuits. Nothing too rich or extravagant, but we had each other. I mean, we would come home and talk about all our adventures, the good, the bad, the naughty. We would never get bored. We were always doing so many things, and each person had their own thing that they brought to the table. I would always intrigue them with things that I had been learning. Manuel would always be taking us to one party or another. Rafa would be giving us leads on things that we could do in case we needed extra cash. And Sebas was the glue that held us all together, the light that kept us on the right path. Until one day, Sebas was missing for more than 3 days, which was very uncommon because he is a hard worker. I mean, he did party, but he was always up the next morning at the crack of dawn, ready to work. It wasn't until Nancy, our neighbor, a nice lesbian nurse from next door, told us that Sebas was in the hospital she was interning at. And that's how we found out that Sebas had AIDS. He passed out 3 weeks after, on December 25th. It was a bittersweet Christmas. And then Rafa decided to tell us about his status as well. And our world shifted. A realization pounced on us, like un león creeping in the shadows until it's ready for its kill. Sebas' death was not the only one we experienced. Many of our friends and acquaintances dropped dead soon after, but his death was the one that definitely felt like home. It definitely made it feel real. And the way it just all happened, it was like a domino effect. During all that, that's when I discovered La Estatua de Sal, which came to save me. Okay, let me tell you. One day, a very cute boy showed up. No, not cute. He was handsome. Very handsome. I mean, he came into the shop and I promise you, I almost spilled everything that I was holding. I noticed that he was holding a book in his hand, but I couldn't read the title or anything and pay attention to his order at the same time. So I took his order, trying to focus. Un simple cafecito con leche. Okay, was it just me or was he staring at me? I finally got him his coffee and he gave me a gracias with a smile. And I swear he held on to my hand just a little bit more longer than what is the usual amount. I looked at him longingly as he went to sit down and start to read. There was not only this handsome boy sitting a little bit in front of me, but he was also reading a book. Que sexy! Well, he finished and left, but then he started to come every single day. Always the simple café con leche, always the smile that would melt me, and every day he would go and sit in his spot and read his book. It might have been such a small thing, but every time he came into the shop, it was a distraction from all the pain that I was being surrounded by. So I had to do something. I mean, you can't blame me. I had to figure out what this book was. I mean, there he was reading a book and gorgeous as ever, and I thought, if I ever get a chance to talk with him one-on-one, I could maybe talk to him about the one thing that I know I love, libros. And that could potentially be the start of a connection and lead to a romance with this guy who I actually thought was flirting with me. So, when I saw him go to the bathroom, I snuck over and read the title, La Estatua de Sal by Salvador Novo. I saved up and I bought the book. Luckily, Rafa had a discount at the bookstore. But this book introduced me to a way of life in a time when my hopes were dying. Reading this book gave me hope. Not only hope that this guy was potentially flirting with me, but also hope to be happy. Hope to live the life I was meant to live with no apologies. I mean, I want to be happy and love who I love, but the world tells me I can't. I see it in the streets, I see it in the hospitals, I see it with my friends, my family. I see how the world treats them, treats us, and it reaffirms that I'm not meant to be happy. Pero this book changes everything. It shows me that I can live just as I am and still find pleasure and joy. That I am not only purely destined for pain and suffering. Tia Josefina's dressing table and bathroom captivated me. With their beautiful bottles of perfume, salt, cremas, paints, powder, soaps, ooey. In the mornings, I would wake up early, not so much because I didn't have time to get to class on time, but so that I would enjoy the beautiful bathroom before anyone else, and so that I could apply, without anyone seeing or reproaching me, all the creams and powders and her plethoric display cases. To polish my nails with her beautiful ivory tools, and arrive at school full of vanity, determined to attract attention and win the admiring envy of my classmates. I mean, see? Something so simple as a dressing table and a bathroom, but it's so important for Novo. And all of this are things that he's speaking in the 1920s, 1940s. I would never say it now. Novo was living decades before his time. And yeah, you could say that things have gotten better, that it's easier, that it's not as bad as it was, and it will keep getting better. But is it though? Is it really getting better? I mean, now we have a disease that's running rampant and nobody cares about it but us. It's as if all this pent-up repression has been unleashed, and now what binds us together is something else. It's the will of overcoming what keeps pushing us down. I mean, Karl Marx said, La historia se repite primero en tragedia y luego en comedia. Now, it all just feels like tragedy. Or maybe it's in the sad realization of that irony that the humor comes in. I don't know. But how wonderful to live so freely, to live so fully, to remember the pleasures that being who we are gives us, and to live it without shame or shadow, just like Novo did. I have to be honest though, Novo, he was an interesting guy. With everything that I can relate to with Novo, there is also a lot that I don't. And that's because Novo, he was kind of a fresita, a rich kid. He was born into a wealthy family and was able to get away with a lot. But that is also perhaps evidence that our lives shouldn't be seen or even lived tragically. We are more than just this or that, death or perversion, poor and sinful. No, Novo's existence serves as empirical evidence of people like me, and who are not only surviving, but they're thriving. They struggled and they came out above it all. And with community, and maybe a little bit of poteria, se puede hacer la cosa. And look how he turned out. Novo was cronista and journalist, poet and essayist, author, writer in so many identities. And he loved his life. And he wasn't afraid to live it. I guess if maybe he could do it, then so could I. My story doesn't have to end in despair and depression. It could end in hope and life. And who knows, maybe even with un cafecito with that boy I was talking to.